Hi everyone, Simon here with a review of Chapeau. Chapeau, which is French for hat, is a game based on a hat and it's available for Nintendo Switch and PC. It's the PC version you see on your screens. It's a 1 to 4 local multiplayer party game. You can add in bots and the bots are well programmed and very efficient at what they do, so be warned. But I really appreciate the developer doing that because quite often a lot of indie and smaller games are missing AI bots in these types of party games, so it's important to me that they have them. Chapeau is based around hat and it's also based around parkour. Your hat is available to jump and run and wall jump and do all kinds of funky dashes at the drop of a couple of buttons, and it takes a little while to get used to. It's almost like your hat is placed in a Velcro world and you can kind of stick and then run across wherever you want to go. You'll walk around or like hobble around with the analog stick, but that is ridiculously slow movement wise. So you're constantly encouraged to firstly jump so that then gets you up verticality in the different areas, because there's a lot of different levels and layers to each arena that you unlock as you go through the game. But then once you do that, you've also got the boost ability, which allows you to sprint forward. You've also then got a kind of somersault flip, which can be really, really handy to kind of give you almost like a secondary jump. But you can use it to be like a jump, a somersault, a boost, and it will get you very far on the map. And it's also way, way faster than ever trying to just walk anywhere. So you're encouraged to do that first and foremost. There is also a stomp button as well, because sometimes when you're up very, very high and you might need to get very low, you can stomp right down onto people around you. And that can also be used as an attack. So can your dash. So not only are they measures of movement, they're also attacks that you can use against your other competitors. There's 3 different game modes in Chapeau, and I'll talk through each one in turn. The first one is called Craze, and it was by far my favourite of the 3. You'll pick your hat, and there's different varieties of hats. Some are faster but easily, like you'll fly quite far. And you'll fly fast, but you're quite weak against attacks. Then you've got a middle hat, which is kind of in the middle of both. Then you've got like a larger hat, which is slower to move, but will pack a punch on attacks, and their attacks will go wider. Once you've all picked your hats, you get dropped into arena, and you start off with 5 or 6 different colour pellets, and lots of people around you. The idea that transcends across all of these game modes is that you are the hat that needs to land on as many people's heads as possible. In Craze, the most simple version of this game is you will land on different people and they will change to your colour of your team. As you go around doing that though, you lose one of your ink pellets and it will randomly appear on someone relatively nearby. But what you'll need to do is decide whether or not you want to quickly go around and lose all of your ink pellets and then collect them all again, or do you want to try and traverse around the world and try and collect as many of your ink pellets on top of other people as you go. Everyone starts off colourless, so initially you'll just be grabbing any old person, but then you'll want to start to think tactically about, do I go for the people who have got a higher score than me to take away their kind of area percentage? And one of the other themes that's throughout all 3 game modes is that there's rainbow people, and they will essentially kind of splash your team's colour out in a wider circle, as well as there being other power-ups that can either be used for offense or defense, which will help kind of knock coins and money out of people, which is essentially points. Or it could be that they provide more colour or less colour, or they might weigh someone down so that they're slower. It really does depend on how you go. You've got 2 different power-ups that you can hold at once, although they always seem to be in a certain order, so you can't kind of flip between them. But there's a real kind of, you need to be very precise and very coordinated in what you're doing in terms of your platforming and parkour, but you always have to keep an eye out for what your competitors are doing and change your strategy to suit. And that's what I really liked about that mode. The second mode, what I call the Where's Waldo mode, I think it's called Where's Werner, because this is a heavily European and Frenched up game. It's essentially, there's a roulette wheel spinning at the top right hand side of the screen, and it will pick a random person that is situated in the level, and it will give you a guiding arrow to show vaguely where they are. But you would be looking for the colour of the clothes and the colour of the hair and the sex and gender of the person, so that you can then try and all land on that person at once. Here's where having potentially the fatter and heavier hats can be of help and use, because sometimes you need to stay on that person for a couple of seconds to kind of win that specific round in the match. And obviously everyone might just kind of bundle on you and cause you mischief. I found that mode to be slightly confusing and very annoying when you was playing against AI, because the AI know where they're going, whereas you're still trying to arguably try and focus on where you are in the world and then get towards them. I was terrible at that mode, and I'll come back to why that's a slight problem later on in this review. The third and final game mode was initially my least favourite, but then bumped up to second, and that's the floor is lava. And essentially each level has lava that will rise and fall, and all you're doing is diving around, landing on different people's heads, collecting coins, which are essentially points. But what will happen is that each level is structured in a way that there's only so many parts of the level that will actually stay afloat until there's normally only one central bit at the end. So you can go around collecting all of your hats at the beginning and amassing a nice good collection of coins and therefore points and be winning. But when you all have to descend onto the end part at the end to survive the lava, you're essentially having like a power-up battle royale, and you'll be trying to stomp on each other or dash into each other and push each other off. And when you hit the lava, obviously you lose a certain amount of coins, and so it becomes like a little mini last-minute bit of attrition. So if you're terrible at trying to keep up with everyone else's hat jumping, or head jumping rather, you can kind of make it up at the end there. That's a good thing, but it's also a negative, because it means that you can be absolutely perfectly competent at the game and then just be absolutely trashed by three people who just were out to get you to ruin your lead at the very end of the game. So it can really be like a sword of Damocles if you're going into that bit at the lead, and that kind of made it a little bit frustrating. Outside of those multiplayer three types of gameplay, there is a challenge mode as well, which takes different elements of the three different gameplay modes and gives you like certain challenges with certain AI compatriots to kind of beat different levels of AI difficulty. The issue that I had with that is that one of the ones that's very early on is the Waldo or Werner one, and the PC and the AI bots know where they're going and you don't, and I find it so difficult to win at that specific event that it stopped my progress in the challenge difficulty right at the very beginning. And the problem with that is that a lot of the unlockable hats and unlockable colours and unlockable arenas are hidden behind this challenge kind of wall. Some of them you can still pick up in the multiplayer mode, and that's great, but quite a lot of the arena stuff is held behind the single player challenge mode, which I feel may be quite difficult because you need to have cleared one to get to the next one, and I'd have preferred it if they'd have had like a collection of 3 or 4 available for you to try in tiers, so if I got stuck on the Where's Werner ones, I could at least continue to unlock all of the things around it. The other thing that I would say as well is that for a game that relies so heavily on parkour and platforming, it's a little bit hit and miss in terms of how precise your movements are. I really like the fact that your hat sticks to everything, but there comes a time and place where actually you are kind of firing over people and you're trying to like auto lock onto people's heads so that you can then dash onto them, and it just becomes a little bit rubbery and messy. That, accustomed with sometimes a little bit of a low frame rate, can slightly hurt the performance of the game. What I'd like to see from Chapeau in the future is a couple of extra game modes, and then I think you've got a decent party stayer. At the moment, I think this will be one of those games that will have quite a fleeting pass. It'll be one that you'll dig out every now and then, but it's not going to be a mainstay for your local multiplayer parties. So that's Chapeau. It's out now for PC and Nintendo Switch. Any comments or questions, please do leave them down below. And so stay tuned for more videos here on Higher Plane Games. Bye! Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a collection of media projects ran by me. If you like what you see and want to find out more, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support can make so much more possible, be that a like, a comment, a share, or a pledge. Thanks for watching.